Max was a mischievous boy who loved to wear his wolf suit and cause trouble. One night, after making too much mischief, he was sent to bed without supper. In his room, Max imagined a forest growing, with trees reaching the ceiling and vines covering the walls. Soon, Max discovered a boat waiting for him. He climbed aboard and sailed across an ocean 4 days and nights. The waves were huge, but Max felt brave as he journeyed towards an unknown land. Finally, he arrived at an island where the wild things lived. The wild things had terrifying teeth, sharp claws, and roaring voices. They tried to scare Max, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he stared into their yellow eyes without blinking once. Impressed by his courage, the wild things made him their king. As king of the wild things, Max led them in a wild rumpus. They danced under the moonlight, swung from trees, and howled together. Max felt powerful and free, but something inside him began to change. Although he loved being king, Max started to miss home. He longed for the comfort of his room and the love of his family. So Max announced that the wild rumpus must end and decided to leave the island. The wild things begged Max to stay. They cried out that they would eat him up, because they loved him so much. But Max was determined to return home, and set out once again in his boat. The journey back was long and quiet. Max sailed through calm seas and dark skies, until he finally reached his room. Everything looked just as he had left it, but something felt different. On his desk was a plate of food that had been left for him. It was still warm, and Max knew that he was loved despite his mischief. He sat down to eat, feeling content and safe. Max realized that adventures were wonderful, but nothing could replace the love of home. As he fell asleep that night, he dreamed of new adventures, but knew where his heart belonged. The forest Indiana, his room faded away, and everything returned to normal. Max smiled in his sleep, knowing that even if he visited faraway lands again, home would always be waiting for him. The wild things roared in his dreams, but could not follow him back to reality. They remained on their island where they belonged while Max stayed where love surrounded him. Max's heart was full as he rested peacefully in his bed. He learned that imagination could take him anywhere, but love brought him back home every time. The smell of supper filled his room, a comforting reminder of his mother's care. He knew that no matter how far his imagination took him, he would always have a place to return to. He cherished the memory of the wild things, their fearsome faces and untamed spirits. They taught him about courage and the importance of being true to himself. He would never forget them. Max vowed to embrace both his wild side and the love that surrounded him. He understood that he could be both a mischievous boy and a beloved child, free to dream and explore. And so, Max continued to dream and play, knowing that the greatest adventures were the ones that led him back to the warmth of home and the love of his family, always and forever.